Hi there, I'm making this video to explain some of the things that I've been doing with my lawn care. I rent in South Georgia, which is just a little bit of a adjustment after having grown up in the north, in the Chicagoland area. And what you'll see here in my lawn is a combination of centipede grass and clover. The leaves that you see are leaves from a post oak tree that is in the front yard. This is an azalea bush, and I've gotten to know some of the guys who come by and do lawn care for the apartment complex I rent, and they've let me know some of the things that they do. I think this azalea bush gets trimmed a little bit too often, and it doesn't bloom as much as it could because I think sometimes they're actually doing the trimming of it at a time of the year when it's already put in its flower blooms. But hopefully it's going to be okay. I try and make sure that I fertilize it every so often. You can see how many leaves and pine straw needles are there underneath it. This is the post oak tree that's always putting the leaves out. And I don't mind raking. I have happy memories of raking where I grew up in Illinois. Many of the other trees in the area are palm trees or magnolia trees, and those don't usually involve as much leaf dropping as this particular tree does. This is what it looks like when it rains in South Georgia. I'm in the coastal floodplain. And you can see that there's a lot of rain that will build up in certain places in the lawn where it is low-lying soil. But it actually ends up draining out really quickly. Within an hour after it's done raining, the sandiness of the soil will take in the water, and it's not that much of a problem. Just in case you're kind of curious about what the lawn looks like on a sunny day, you can see how those low-lying areas are places where the grass has the biggest difficulty trying to grow. And it sort of looks patchy. It looks like it's not all that great. So in this next image you can see what the centipede grass stolons actually look like in the lawn. They're not that big, they're not that healthy of a green color, they've got a lot of yellow. It looks to me like what I'm seeing here is some centipede decline. That's something that I learned about from checking in with various YouTubers and TikTok people who are into centipede grass and know about the rules of how it should grow. And one of the examples that I can show you is here from Centipede Central Lawn Care on YouTube. He does a great channel with all sorts of interesting information about centipede. And you can see how his stolons look much healthier and much greener than mine do. Smooth shout out also to Blades of Grass Lawn Care out of Savannah, Georgia. The Centipede Central Lawn Care is from Alabama, and also this gentleman from Savannah really knows his way around centipede grass here in the South. Now, if I go around and I do some hand aerating of the soil, that's what this is from. I actually went ahead and got myself a hand aerator. You can see how when you make a hole in the ground, you've got this top layer that's kind of a gray, maybe typical topsoil kind of a color, and then underneath it you'll start to see some of that red Georgia clay. So this kind of soil does have good drainage. It's not like it's got pooling water on it, but it also is kind of difficult for the grass to grow. This is my hand aerator that I have that I go around with. One of the things that I've heard is that it's not that good for centipede grass to go around and do a lot of aerating. So I make sure that I'm not doing the aerating where there is healthy grass growing. I'm trying to make sure that I check out the aeration in those areas where the grass has not been growing well. This is what the soil looks like after it's been inside. I actually took some out of that aerator and tried to see what it looks like, and it looks very sandy. It does not look that much like clay. So that sandy soil, apparently in the southeast there's a lot of it, and centipede grass does not mind it. What I've been trying to do is see what I can do to try and hold on to the healthy topsoil as much as I can so that it's not washing away. And one of the first things I've tried to do is go ahead and add in some annual ryegrass. I figure that annual ryegrass, if it doesn't last long, if it dies off in the next season, that's fine. I'll go ahead and dethatch it. I'm just trying to make sure that I get some healthy soil going on, and I figure that the annual ryegrass will at least hold on to the nitrogen and make sure that that centipede grass stays relatively healthy. You can also see my bottle tree there in that picture. That's also an old Southern tradition. Now, when you take a look at the lawn, on a sunny day, it's not like there's a bad shade problem. There's actually some good healthy grass growing in the shady areas. So one of the things I'm just sort of trying to figure out here is if I add in some more topsoil and if I try and add in some more grass seed, how things will end up developing, especially come spring. These pictures are all taken in November. Now this is the annual ryegrass mix that I use to get these areas of the lawn that look like they are a really bright green color. It's growing well. It's nice and healthy, so it doesn't seem like there's anything really bad with the soil. It just may need to go in the next season. It's not the kind of permanent grass solution that Centipede is. Here's an example of a place where I actually decided to try and test it out with some Bermuda grass. I used this easy seed stuff, and it's very interesting. It actually did grow pretty well. With this kind of a seed, you end up having to make sure that you're watering it on a regular basis, and you sort of have to baby it through about the first month. It's not as quick as the annual ryegrass. Now, the other thing I did this fall was add in Simple Lawn Solutions high potassium and add in chelated liquid iron. I used up both of these bottles, and it was interesting. I think it actually did help the centipede grass a little bit. It's a little bit greener, it looks a little bit healthier, but there are still places where there is definitely no grass and there's just dirt in the lawn. So here's the other thing I've decided to do. In the lawn, there are a number of places where there are centipede grass stolons that we're trying to grow but were not attached to the ground. So I've collected them. I have 3 trays with centipede stolons totaling about 25 of them that I've put into some healthy potting soil mix, and I've been trying to fertilize it and water it, and I'm going to overwinter it indoors. And then I'm going to try and see if I can transplant these stolons into the ground outside with additional topsoil and with peat moss. And I'm going to see if they will try and root. This is one of those kinds of things where I've just seen on a couple of different websites people say that you can transplant centipede stolons, so I'm going to try it. So this is the garden soil I'm going to use. That's the peat moss I'm going to use. I also have a bottle of Sunday Southeast Nutrients in reserve for the spring, and of course those stolons, going to see how they work. And then this Stay Green Natural Fertilizer is one of the ones that Centipede Central Lawn Care on YouTube recommends. So I'm going to get some of that, and I'm going to try and see if that will work out too. Here's the other part of my lawn that I think is kind of interesting and weird to look at. This is a juniper bush. Where I grew up in Illinois, there's all sorts of juniper bushes just like this. But this juniper bush has been there since before I moved in 21 years ago. And it had a bunch of garbage, a bunch of old leaves, a bunch of old pine straw, a bunch of old decaying matter that was inside of it. Now, most juniper bushes like this will end up having this middle section that they call the dead zone. After it's been there for a while, the middle of the bush will start to die off, especially as it gets to the last part of its life. And so what I've been trying to do is clean it out, get rid of some of that decaying matter, and I've been adding in some fertilizers. Now, over the last 3 months or so, I've probably gone ahead and done like 25 bags of this leaf junk stuff that's in the middle of it. Also in there I found 1 metal hanger, 1 plastic hanger, a bottle of Patron tequila, a couple of other bottles, a broken plate that somebody had left in there, all sorts of weird stuff. The key idea with using these kinds of fertilizers, I think, is that it needs to be able to get into the ground so that the plant can use it. And if you've got this thick layer of all of this mulch, then it can't get to where it needs to go. So I was able to clean around the drip line outside of the bush pretty well, and now I've been emptying out the middle of it, and I'm going to see if adding these fertilizers will help to make a difference. In this picture you can also see up at the top, there's another juniper bush just like this one that has a tree growing in the middle of it. That bush looks much healthier and much more of a deep green color to me. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make a big difference, but I'm going to try my best. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.